Hey everyone, it's Betsy, and today we are going to multiply binomials. Remember what binomials are? They have two terms. So I'm going to take two terms times two terms. And to do that, we use what's called the FOIL method. You multiply the front, outside, inside, last. So let's take a look at that. Number one, we have x minus 5, that quantity, times the quantity x plus 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this x and multiply it by each term in the other parentheses. So remember, when you're multiplying and the variables are the same, you add their exponents. So x times x is x squared. 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, the next thing I have to do is take this x times the positive 2. So a positive times a positive is a positive, and 2 times x is 2x. So take a second and take a look at what we did there. So again, what did we do? We took this x and multiplied it by both terms in the other set of parentheses. All right, now we're going to do the same thing with the negative 5. So I'm going to take my negative 5. I'm going to circle it here. Let's get a different color. I'm going to circle my negative 5, and we're going to multiply that negative 5 by each term in the other set of parentheses. Remember, your terms are separated by plus or minus signs. So I've got a negative times a positive here. That's a negative. 5 times x is 5x. Now I got to take this negative 5 times this positive 2. A negative times a positive is a negative. 5 times 2, 10. So take a look again at what I did. I started by taking the x times everything in the other parentheses. Then I took the negative 5, and I multiplied that by everything in the other set of parentheses. Remember, that's a positive 2 I multiplied by. That's a positive x. Now, we're not done with this problem because we got to combine like terms. So let's take a look here. Do we have any like terms? Well, there's no other x squared, so I can just bring that down. But I have a positive 2x and a negative 5x. We can put those together. 5 is bigger and it's negative, so our answer is going to be negative. Since the signs are opposite, just subtract. 5 take away 2 is 3. So I got 3 x's. And then I've got a constant of negative 10. Can't do anything with that constant. There's no other like terms. So we're done. If I were to name this, the degree is 2. It's the biggest exponent. That makes it quadratic. And then it has 3 terms, so it's a quadratic trinomial. All right, let's go on. Same thing for the next one. I'm multiplying 2 binomials. How do I know they're binomials? They have 2 terms each. 1 term, 2 terms. That's a binomial. 1 term, 2 terms. That's a binomial. So all together, we got 2 terms. 1 and 1 makes 2. 1 and 1 makes 2. All right, so I got a binomial times a binomial. 2 terms in each one. All right, here we go. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the last problem. I'm going to take the 3x and I'm going to multiply it by each term in the other set of parentheses. So when I take 3x times 4x, well, 3 times 4 is 12. They're both positive, so it's positive. Now, x times x, we're multiplying, so we add the exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. All right. Now I need to take this positive 3x times this negative 5. A positive times a negative is a negative. 3 times 5 is 15, and carry your x along. There we go. I'm going to erase this again so we can take a quick look at it again. If it is helpful to you, put the 1s for the exponents so you don't forget about them. So again, what did we do? We took the 3x times each term in the other set of parentheses. Because remember, this means times. There's nothing between here. These are all times. There's nothing between the parentheses. That means multiply. So now let's do our -1. I'm going to clean this up again. So now we need to take -1 and multiply it by each term. A negative times a positive is a negative. 4x times 1 is just 4x. Then we got to take this -1 times this -5. A negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 5 is 5. I'm going to take another look at this just to make sure you see it. First thing, I know I'm multiplying because there's nothing between the parentheses, which means it's multiplication. And then what did I do? I took this -1 and multiplied it by each term. 4x and -5x. All right, now we got to see if we can combine any like terms. Well, we've got an x squared. Do we have any other x squareds? No, so I'm going to just bring down the term with the x squared. I've got a -15x and I've got a -4x. So if you have 15 negatives and I give you 4 more negatives, then you've got 19 negatives altogether. All right. And then I still got this +5, this constant by itself. And we are done. Remember, a constant is a number that doesn't have a variable with it. All right, let's take a look at our next one. We're going to take this 2x, the front, and multiply it by the front of the other one. Then we're going to multiply it by the 4. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm trying to go nice and slow so you guys see this. So 2 times 3 is a positive times a positive is 6. Now I've got x to the 1. Make sure you put that 1 there. 1 plus 2 is 3. I'm multiplying, so I've got to add them, okay? Now, I've got 2x times a positive 4. Well, a positive times a positive is a positive. 2 times 4 is 8. And let's carry that x along. So what do we think of that one? I'm going to erase this so you can take a better look. So what did we do here? We took this 2x and we first multiplied it by 3x squared. And then we multiplied it by a positive 4x. So I took this and multiplied it by everything in the other set of parentheses. Are we okay? Everybody doing good? Now we're going to do the same thing with the -1. Remember, it's all times. Let's get a different color here. I've got a -1, and I've got to take and multiply that by everything in the other set of parentheses. So a negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 1 is 3. Bring the x squared along. And then I've got a negative times a positive, which is a negative. 1 times 4 is 4. Are we doing okay? So again, what did I do? I took the -1 and I multiplied it by each term. First term, second term. Whew, how are we doing? All right, let's go on. If you have comments, you guys leave them down below and I will definitely get back to you. All right, now I've got an x cubed. Remember, when you give your answers, you want to put them in standard form, which means the biggest exponent comes first. So I've done that one. Now the next biggest exponent is an x squared, and there's no other one. So I'm just going to bring it down. And you see how I brought the sign with it. So I'm done with that one. So we go 3, 2, and now we got to go 1. 8x to the 1. Done with that, and then bring down your constant. And we're done. All right, let's go on to the next problem. This one's a little more difficult. As you can see, they're getting more difficult as we do them, but it's the same method. You multiply the fronts, then you multiply the outsides, then you multiply the insides, and then you multiply the last. So front, outside, inside, last. That is what I'm doing in every one of these problems. I'm just not saying that. I think sometimes it's easier if you just look at it and don't worry about the F-O-I-L or F-O-I-L. All right, here we go. So let's take a look. We're going to take this 2x cubed y to the 1, if you need to put the 1 there, do, and multiply it by this term and then by this term. So here we go. A positive times a positive is a positive. 2 times 3 is 6. Then I've got an x to the third and to the second. So we got to add those. That makes x to the fifth. And then we have a y to the 1 and a y to the second. That gives us y to the third. Whew, that was a lot, wasn't it? All right, now let's go and take this times the other term here. A positive times a positive is a positive. I'm actually going to clean this up a little bit to make it easier to look at. So right now we're taking this times this. So if you want to put a 1 in front of there, go ahead. 2 times 1 is 2. You want to put 1s for your exponents, feel free. I've got 3 and 1 makes 4. And then I got a y times a y, which is y2. So now we're done multiplying the 2x cubed y. All right. So what did we do? We took this first term and we multiplied it by each of these. So we're just multiplying everything is all we're doing. So we're going to get out of there. Now we got to do that negative 4x. So I'm going to change my color here. Let's find a different color. I'm going to take this times this and then times this. So a negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 3 is 12. I got x to the 1 times x squared, which is x to the 2 plus 1, which is 3. And then I still got to carry this y squared along. Okay? Remember, when you're multiplying, you're adding the exponents when the variables are the same. So now, let's take this times this. A negative times a positive is a negative. Put a 1 there if you want. 4 times 1 is 4. X to the 1, x to the 1. When you multiply those, you get x squared. And then you have y left over. So let's take a look at it. Just take it all in. So we started by taking this times this, this times this. And we got our first two answers. Then we took the negative 4 times this and the negative 4 times that. Now we got everything written down. Do we have any like terms? I got an x to the 5. None of the other terms have an x to the 5, so I don't even have to look at the y. An x to the 4, nope. X cubed, nope. X squared, nope. You can just leave your answer. If you want to put it by biggest exponents, you can add your exponents together. So 5 and 3 makes 8. So we could put that one first. And then 4 and 2 is 6. That's the next one. It's already in the right order. 4 and 2 makes 6. 3 and 2 makes 5. Just adding the exponents. And 2 and 1 makes 3. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. All right. So what do you think of that? We multiplied two binomials. A binomial has two terms. Your terms are separated by plus or minus signs. All right. And what we did is the FOIL method. So when you hear it in class, that's all it is. You're just multiplying everything in the first set of parentheses by everything in the second set. It's more about getting the signs right. If you can keep up on your signs, I think you'll be okay with this. All right. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And I would appreciate if you subscribe. Thank you.